Hello, what I'd like to do for the first lesson here is try and kind of explain to you about how to use the internet not only to research music, but to research materials. One thing that I tend to see from a lot of my students is that they don't really know how to utilize the internet effectively to look for things that they would like. One of the biggest problems that I see is from a lot of students is that they just don't have a real large knowledge base of music, of songs, artists, things like that. And I'm not going to go into the whole when I grew up thing, but the truth is that when I was a kid, you bought records or CDs or whatever, and you kind of liked the artist simply because it was the artist, not just because of one song that you heard on the radio or one song that your friend introduced you to or something like that. And that's kind of the generation that exists today is that people just don't really have a lot of interest in bands and things like that because they don't know anything about them. I tend to introduce new artists to students on a regular basis, things that they've never heard before, and what I'm hoping happens is that they'll listen to the song, whatever. Let's take Nirvana, for instance. If you've never heard of Nirvana, or you have but you don't know a lot about Nirvana, or it could be anything, but you want to once you've heard something and you go, wow, that's kind of interesting, you want to find ways of being able to do some research to find other materials by that artist or other materials that are similar to that artist. Anything like that works really well. And so what I'd like to do is just talk to you a little bit about some websites that you should be visiting to get some ideas for new material. Half the fun of modern technology is you don't really have to spend a penny most of the time to be introduced to new artists, new songs, new styles of music, all kinds of different things like that. And so what I want to do is just give you some email addresses, and I will send you a link to these, not email addresses, but website addresses. And I'll send you a link to these so you can check them out yourself. I'm going to start with a couple of obvious ones. The first two sites would be last.fm, if you've ever heard of that, and Pandora is another one that's really, really important. With those two websites, what you do is you plug in the name of an artist that you like. And then what they do is they build a radio station around that artist. So let's say you wanted to look up Stine, my band, for instance. You could plug that in. You could type in the name Stine, and it'll give you songs by Stine, but it'll also give you songs by other artists that it deems similar in nature to that artist. Now, sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. But what's really great about it is you can listen to the song. If you like it, write down what you heard, and then take that information and maybe plug that back in with that name of the band. Or you could take the name of that band, and we'll get into this a little later, but you could take the name of that band and plug it into other software to find other songs by that band that you could look up. There's all kinds of neat things like that you can do. So anyway, last.fm and Pandora. Now the next ones you'd want to look at would be stuff like Napster, iTunes, Rhapsody, and to a lesser degree Amazon, but really Napster, Rhapsody, and iTunes. All three of those come with downloadable software right onto your computer. So you don't really have to use the internet. You can download the software, and I would highly recommend doing that. With Napster and Rhapsody and iTunes, basically, if you don't pay for a subscription, with iTunes you don't get a subscription, but with Napster or Rhapsody you can. But if you don't, it's okay. What happens is when you download the software and install it, you will only be able to listen to 30 seconds of a song instead of listening to the full song, which is perfectly fine because you're going to use it in two ways. Number one, you're going to listen to those 30 seconds and see if it's something that you might be interested in, and then you can take that, you could plug the name of that band back into Pandora or Last.fm or YouTube. We'll get into that in a second too. So you see how these all kind of work back and forth. But the other really neat thing about Napster and Rhapsody and iTunes, for that matter, is that you can type in the name of an artist, and then what happens is when you get the results back, it'll have a bunch of songs by that artist. But for instance, Napster will have a section called Other Members Like, and it'll have a bunch of bands listed on there of different things that you might be interested in. If you type in, whoever it is, if you type in the Beatles, you might get a bunch of different other artists that are similar in nature to the Beatles, some of them from the same era, some of them new, but certainly all useful. So you take a listen to those, and again, you can only listen to 30 seconds, but you can get an idea of some other artists that are out there. And Rhapsody, same thing. Rhapsody has a section called Similar Artists when you type in the name of a band. So if you type in the band The Black Crowes, you'll get a section on there that says Similar Artists, and you can check those out. iTunes has the same thing. iTunes has what's called Listeners Also Bought, which means that, if you bought the Grimstein CD, underneath there it'll say Listeners Almost Bought, and it'll have other artists on there that people that bought that CD would buy as well. And again, you can take a look at that, write down the names of some of those artists, listen to some music of them. You only get 30 seconds though, so then you can take that and plug that back into YouTube. So let's say you look up Iron Maiden, and you get other members like or similar artists or something like that, and you get another band by that sounds kind of like Iron Maiden. Well, you would take that band, and then you would go to YouTube and plug the name of that band in and listen to some things by them. So it works out really well, and you don't have to spend any money. You just download these different softwares and install them. I actually have all three on my computer that I use at different times. I use Napster, Rhapsody, and iTunes. The next level of that is this. I use Rhapsody, and I know Napster offers the same thing. I use Rhapsody, and I pay them, I think it's $15 a month. But what that enables me to do for $15 is I can listen to the entire song of any song. Instead of having 30 seconds, it alleviates that. So you can listen to the whole song of anything you want, which of course I use for your guitar lessons, which makes it great. I can also put any songs I want on my mobile device. If I had an MP3 player or something like that, I can use that and put as many songs as I want on that MP3 player for the price of the $15. And also, I have an iPhone and an iPod. You can use Rhapsody. You can download the software for Rhapsody or Napster now, and you can put those on your iPhone or your iPod, and it'll synchronize any playlist that you have. You can download songs onto your iPhone. You don't have to pay extra for them. The only difference is that you can't burn the songs. If you've got like the $15 subscription, you can listen to anything you want, and you can put as many songs as you want on your portable device. You just can't burn them onto a CD. But nowadays, you really don't need to burn them onto a CD anyway, as long as you've got them on your device. So for instance, for me playing in a band, I will put all the songs that I'm learning for a particular band into a playlist. Like let's say the poster back there, Methuselah. If I'm learning a bunch of songs, I'll make a playlist on Rhapsody of all those songs. And then let's say I'm every week in church, I learn new songs. We usually have 6 or 7 different songs every week. So what I'll do is I'll put those songs for the next week as a playlist, and I'll listen to them all week, and then after Sunday, I'll erase those and put the new ones on there. So it works really well for looking up material. It works really well for, again, if you're interested in doing the subscription, you could do that as well, and you can listen at the full song of anything that you want. Okay, and then there's finally, of course, YouTube in this whole little section we're talking about. YouTube, you can look up the name of a band, but you won't get any advice as to other artists. You can just listen to the full songs of just about anything. So I would start with something like Napster or Rhapsody, look up the material, find the names of some artists, and then go to YouTube and check them out. Or again, if you want to go to Last.fm or Pandora, you could type in the name of an artist and just make a radio station out of it and listen to things. If you don't like the song, you can fast forward it and move to the next song. Okay? Now, some other ones that you could use if you're just looking for some inspiration. You don't really have an artist to start with. You just want to look for some things. There's a website called The 61. It's the61.com. And again, I'll send you a link for that. And you can just look up new stuff, new material. It's actually a really neat site for just looking for new things. What's new? What are other people listening to? And there's another one called Musiccovery, like Discovery, but it's musiccovery.com. And that one's kind of interesting because it has like moods on there. So there's like energetic and calm and dark. And what you can do is you can go to each one of those different colors, and then of course you have to wait for it to load, and it'll play something. Then you can click on that, and it'll bring you to another page where you can listen to different things that are kind of in the same vein. It's kind of an interesting website. And there's another one called music.com, and it's MUZIIC.com. And the same sort of thing, lots of new material on there, what's popular, so you can check out, the top tracks that people are listening to, things like that. Again, it's not going to give you ideas for different artists, but it can just introduce you to things that you may not normally listen to. So you've got a number of different little links here that I'm going to send you, and I would really encourage you to download the ones that I was talking about, and I'll mark that on your email. Make radio stations out of the other ones, and then just check out some of these other ones. The most important thing is looking for excitement, looking for things that interest you. When you're learning how to play guitar, one of the most important things is that you're always trying to discover new things. It doesn't have to be new in terms of the age of the music or the artist, just new for you, something that you've never heard before. Be willing to go back 5 years or 10 years or 20 years or 30 years. And for those of you that listen to music of 20 years ago, be willing to go to now and listen to things. Look for different things out there that are exciting for you. Okay, as far as the materials go, one of the best places to look for tablature is a place called ultimateguitar.com, and I'll send you a link to that as well, where you can look up tabs, you can look up songs for chords, things like that. And I have lots and lots of different tab sites that you can go to that I would be more than willing to share the links to, but the primary one for you, because it doesn't cost anything, is that ultimateguitar.com. I would definitely check that out. Now, as far as materials go, like in terms of chords and scales and things like that, I am going to send you a list of some different websites that you can check out. I'll just send a bunch of different links, and I'll separate these all in your email. And I'm hoping that this will give you something to do while I'm gone for the next 2 weeks. And needless to say, you'll also get another guitar lesson from me. We talked about the things that we're going to work on. I'll try and summarize all of that up into a lesson and send you on the day of your guitar lesson. So take care and be looking for that email, and please utilize the links on there to look for some of these things to keep your music and your listening to music fresh and exciting. So I'll talk to you soon.